That is not good. All right. Hey, everyone. Michael Pickens here with Josh. How do I pronounce your last name?
Umbaugh. Yeah.
Umbaugh. And you are not Ted Brown.
I am not.
For some reason, it did not transition over. So I'm going to get that swapped here in a second. But you are running for State House in the 40th District in Ohio. You are also the chair of the Montgomery County Libertarian Party. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Awesome. So why are you running for office? That's the first question I always ask everyone.
Well, one nice thing here in Ohio, we've been able to gain ballot access again as a minor party. So it's made it much better, much easier for us to run candidates again, get on the ballot, get access, and run some candidates. So with that, we definitely want to have as many options out there and just try to recondition people, or maybe for the first time condition them to seeing other options, third-party options on the ballot. It's as we all know, if everybody watching is a third-party supporter, like it's kind of a yo-yo. You get on, then they change the rules, they kick you off. But right now, the Ohio Libertarian Party is running an initiative called 99 Problems and Ballot Access Ain't One. So over 99 congressional districts, we're trying to get a candidate in every single one if possible, before the deadline, before the primary, have names on the primary, have options during the primary, and just show people that we're out there, we exist, and we're existing. So that's step one. And as you mentioned, being chair of the county party here in Montgomery County, with the city of Dayton being our largest city in that area, we're excuse me. But as the chair, I've never ran for office before, so I wanted to go through this process so I have a better understanding to help guide people in our county to be a better guide going forward, going through the process myself. I think it's important to do that and just have an idea. And I will say another thing, my particular district in 2024, because I'm kind of a political geek, and I'll get in there a few days before, print off my sample ballot, do some research on the different candidates, see what I can find out, before making a decision. And in 2024, we had a Republican and a Democrat running for the district, and neither one of them bothered to even return a questionnaire to the Dayton Daily News. Neither one of them had a campaign site. In fact, the Dayton Daily News, talking about our district in the race, called it the most uncompetitive district in all of Ohio.
They just didn't care? The candidates just didn't care?
Yeah, apparently the guy who won, for his, I think it was his second term, but he had a campaign site from his first campaign, but never updated or did anything different for his second campaign. And his opponent didn't try anything. And like I said, they couldn't even be bothered to return a questionnaire to the Dayton Daily News, or the minimal effort, And I feel like that really ticked me off. And I was like,
yeah,
it doesn't take much more to do better than what we have representing us in Columbus right now. If you just want to get out there and talk to people, let them know your views, have a website, express your views. And, it doesn't, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a millionaire. It's just, I want to get out there and weather gets a little bit better, I want to hit the streets, go door to door, talk to people, listen to their concerns. I have my own ideas about certain things, certainly, but want to listen to people and show them that they have somebody running to represent them that really cares about their issues and what's happening here in Ohio and in our district.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit responsive or proactive, right? Yeah. So I hear that you're running for office because there's a concerted effort in Ohio to have 99 candidates, and you also want to gain that experience as county chair so you can mentor some people in the future. But what is your deep down reason why you're running? What issues are you passionate about, that you're going to go out there and champion and educate people on?
So, many of them, I guess I'd say are some core libertarian issues, just based on human respect and liberty. Definitely the bigger, more things our government does, the less human respect we feel at a personal level. So we definitely any issue we can tie to just the human respect and liberty level. I want to tie into that. One other thing I really want to push here in Ohio that hasn't gotten much traction that I think is something very important is I really want to promote Defend the Guard legislation.
Okay.
And I think the last few months with so much chaos going on in the world, who knows where our military may be entangled next.
So let me ask you this. I know what Defend the Guard is, but for the viewer out there, someone who doesn't, can you explain it in like less than a couple minutes on what Defend the Guard is?
Yeah, really quickly. Defend the Guard is a legislation that would be passed at the state level that would not allow the National Guard of Ohio to be deployed to foreign combat unless there's an actual U.S. congressional declaration of war. Mm-hmm. Which I'd encourage people to look more into Defend the Guard, because I think it's great legislation. Because since the war on terror basically broke out, our National Guard has been used way more than ever intended for a lot of our, I guess you can't technically call them wars because we haven't declared one since World War II. But, our foreign skirmishes and combat and fights like Iraq and Afghanistan and those others, it's been a large percentage of National Guard deployment from various states. And I remember, what was that, last fall, driving home from Florida after these hurricanes with my wife, after celebrating our anniversary in Florida, driving back to Ohio. And those hurricanes hit in like Tennessee and some of those Georgia, and those places were just devastated. And I remember hearing on the radio, I think it was Tennessee at the time, just deployed like 1,200 of their National Guard troops to the Middle East. And here they are, people flooding and their homes destroyed, and they should be there to help their neighbors, to help their state. Yeah. And I have so many thoughts on we shouldn't have so many bases and be in the Middle East like we are anyways. But like the National Guard, like their purpose has been skewed and has kind of been taken over at a national level. But this is one way, not just to help protect people here in our state in the National Guard, do more of what they wanted to do, protect their communities, but also hold the national politicians in DC accountable. Like, all right, declare war for once if we're actually going to war, and if you need these extra troops to go over there and help. If we can do that on a state level, and if it could be a domino effect of different states doing this and demand accountability in DC, I mean, maybe that's where we're at, and that's the way we need to approach it. So, like I said, I would love to get some traction on that here in Ohio. And whatever happens with my campaign, I want people in Ohio to be calling their representatives or state senators and that and saying, hey, they're for this legislation. Would love to see it, because it makes sense.
I love that, because you're going to be forcing the conversation. You're going to be bringing up the issue in media interviews, hopefully, and you'll fill out that questionnaire from that newspaper that never got filled out by your opponents. But getting that issue out there is super important, and that's what running for office really does. It takes your core issues, and because there's a time where I had no idea what Defend the Guard was. I had no idea, but I agree with the concept. Once I heard it, like and what it was about, it's like, the Washington State National Guard. If there's something happening here, they need to be here to defend Washington State and your state, Ohio, right? And that's a great example of the natural disaster that happened down there. And there was 1,200 National Guards troops sent to the Middle East, and their homes are being flooded, and there's nothing they can do about it. So,
yeah, exactly.
What are some other issues that you care about?
Well, some of it is just upholding what voters in Ohio have demanded. Basically, like here in Ohio, it's actually pretty cool if you're not familiar with it. But we have citizen-led ballot initiatives, and recently we had one, where citizens of Ohio voted, and it was a citizen-led ballot initiative to get it on the ballot and let citizens vote on it, to basically approve legalized like marijuana here in Ohio. And since that has happened, the legislature and the governor have fought to try to recriminalize things that people have voted to decriminalize.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just creating criminals without victims again.
Yep.
And it's like loudly, the people of Ohio said, we don't want this anymore. At least for this substance, this consumption, like, let's just get rid of the criminalization of it. And there's some nuances to it, of course, but so many aspects. But since then, the governor has tried executive orders declaring a health emergency to outlaw intoxicating hemp beverages or products. And since then, they're trying to make sure it's illegal for people in Ohio to drive back from Michigan dispensaries with anything. And then in Ohio, you can't drive around. It's got to be secured in your trunk and nowhere else, or you're criminally. It's just, again, creating criminality out of a crime with no victims. And it's just, it seems ridiculous.
So it sounds like, the government is skirting the will of the people. I remember when cannabis was legalized here in Washington State, they started creating these infrastructures around it. And then they got rid of home grow. So you couldn't grow it in your house. You got to get it through the state certified facilities only. And then they're restricting who can get the licenses. And then they added a 35% excise tax. And then they added all these different restrictions to it. It just doesn't make any sense, except for when you realize that the government wants more control and more money and more ways to get fees and fines and permits and everything else like that.
Right. And it also, when you think about law enforcement and what they should be doing, it just diverts energy from what should be focusing on possibly violent crimes and things like that to ticketing somebody for not having marijuana in their trunk. It's like, let's not focus on fundraising tickets for how you're transporting cannabis, but let's focus on like crimes where there's real victims, where people are being hurt or stolen from. Like, I think that's where people want our law enforcement to focus on, and not these other weird little side tales here. Yeah,
it's like when you talk to your neighbors, it's like they don't care as long as you're not hurting anyone else, right? But then when the government gets control of it, here's another example of the government changing the will of the people. We had an initiative on the ballot a few years back for $30 car tab registration, right? It's a flat fee, $30 across the board, because what they do now is a scale based on the value of the vehicle. They'll charge you 1% every single year, right? And it passed by overwhelming margins. And so we were supposed to have $30 car tabs, and the Supreme Court overruled it, saying that the citizens didn't really know what they were voting for, and overturned it, right?
It's crazy. We have, currently, that makes me think of a current ballot initiative, been trying for several years, the Ohio Coalition to End Qualified Immunity, which we work with to try to end qualified immunity on the state level here in Ohio. They've been trying to get that on the ballot and let voters, say whether we want this or not, since it was never leaving legislation. It came out of the court system years ago.
Yep.
And but the Secretary of State, and it's had to be fought in court over and over again. And God bless the people of this coalition fighting it. But they're like, oh, the wording, that's not clear enough, or that doesn't make it. People won't understand that. They fight over the wording of it, and the amount of petitions we've had to sign to try to get that in there, just to get the wording approved, to get it on the ballot for people to decide. Again, it's one of those, it takes all the resources to fight it in court, where, the resources, the money or fundraising for it should be out there to educate people on what qualified immunity is, how it harms citizens, and why you may agree we want to get rid of that here in Ohio. It is just,
and the maddening part about it is that the people in the government agents, are making it more difficult for you to get an initiative on the ballot. And at the same time, they are getting paid with your tax dollars to make it harder for you to participate in democracy that they claim to love. Yes. Right? It's like, and we have to fight that. We did a recall of one of our county commissioners here, and it cost us $30,000 for the whole thing. She had the county attorney, or the county, hire her attorney and spend $120,000 fighting us. then we won in the county level, county court, and then we lost at the Supreme Court level. But still, she's using county funds, our taxpayer dollars, to protect
Sure.
herself from her corruption that she committed.
Fight, yeah. It makes sense.
Yes. So thank you for running for office and getting this out there. And I hope you guys get your 99 state representative candidates out there. I know Michael Sweeney and a bunch of you guys are doing a great job on that.
Yeah, he's been very active in trying to, both in supporting and encouraging people to run and encouraging their campaigns. So it's been exciting. I hope it's a good election cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking also to end property taxes, I see. I'm on your website right now. Let me share the screen. There we go. Cool. Yeah. So are there other issues that you'd like to talk about?
Those are some of the main ones. I haven't had a whole lot of issues I've honed in on or become firm in until I want to get more feedback from the public. I really want to go door to door and meet a lot of people and hear their specific concerns. I do know property tax is a big one, just anecdotally from the people I run into all the time, because it's been skyrocketing the last few years. And one of the most un-American things just seems like you can never own your home. You're always renting it from the government. And that I hope that's something we can end. And here in Ohio too, I believe our state Supreme Court decided several years ago that due to our state constitution, we aren't supposed to be funding our public schools through property tax, but that's what they've been doing. And even since that's been decided, they continue doing that. And they haven't looked for an alternative way of funding the public schools here in the state of Ohio. And they just keep kicking it down the road. They've done the same thing with gerrymandering too. Their maps for gerrymandering have been thrown out by the courts, but they keep submitting the same map. They just keep ignoring the courts and the people on so many of these issues. And so that's something really I stress to people is that I'm not going to be taking orders from a top down, party representative, the Republican Speaker of the House here in Ohio. And I think that's important for them to know that I'm an independent voice for my constituents, for the people in our district. I answer to them. Like the Libertarian Party, they've given me good guidance, but they basically say, spread your wings and do what you want to do in the name of liberty. And we're here to support you,
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, your campaign is 100% your responsibility, and the way that libertarians are, they're pretty much live and let live, man. Run your campaign. Some of them are very extreme and they're like, oh, well, you better be 100% libertarian, which I don't think, can really happen. But hopefully you don't get too many of those pushing back against your campaign.
And I think at the more local levels, you have to be pragmatic and you have to be, just understand again what your constituents want. Because more things should probably happen at the local level than the top centralized in DC, as a libertarian philosophy. If it is going to happen, let it happen at the state or county level and let those people decide it and not people in DC.
Yeah. There's a couple other issues that are really popular as well. One is to have a sunset clause added to all the taxes. So after 6 years, people have to vote for them again. And what's going to end up happening is their election ballot is just going to be piled on with all these taxes that are being re-voted on. And then people are just going to be like, nope, 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 nope. So that's one solution to the high taxes that we have. And then another one, like you said, ending property taxes. But what I found to be a little more viable or popular is making property taxes voluntary. Okay. So if there's a new levy on the ballot to fund a new school building or whatever it is, the people that want that, they should be able to vote yes and give that money to that project. And the ones who don't want it, we homeschool, we're not using this system. We don't benefit from the $13,000, I paid last year in property taxes. So we'd like to be able to say, no, we're not going to support that, and we shouldn't have to, and that's where consent comes down to, because a lot of these people, they love the idea of consent when it comes to like sexual relationships and things like that. But consent really should be the foundation of everything in society. Someone has to agree to it before they can be stolen from. It needs to be voluntary.
As voluntary as possible, and with the least force or coercion as possible to have a civil society and decent infrastructure. Definitely.
Yep. And absolutely.
I think it was Larry Sharp. I heard him talk about, running for governor in New York, about his, I think it was his state income plan. And forgive me if I get this wrong, but I think he was talking about in state income tax, like how he was proposing having citizens designate 25% of it to just donate to their favorite charities and not go to the state.
Yep.
And I was like, that's an awesome idea. Like, just get it more local, your favorite charities, your favorite causes. At least 25% isn't going where you don't want it to. But I thought that was a pretty cool step in the right direction. Thoughts, policies like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, and then it's going to force these state officials that are writing the budget. They're going to have to rethink everything, because there's going to be less money for them to dole out to their friends. And right now we have essential services that are suffering right here locally. The fire department always complains about not having money. The sheriff's department, the roads, potholes everywhere in the roads. Roads aren't being fixed. And we should be able to, if we're being taxed, we should be able to say where that money is going. And instead of the millions of dollars that are going out in grants to these NGOs here locally and nonprofits, we found 2 of them that are bringing in millions of dollars, and they're also taking those that money and donating to Democrat candidates and supporting Democrat candidates, and funneling that taxpayer money to support these campaigns. So we need complete transparency in the budget, because right now those nonprofits are listed under Health and Human Services. Well, who wants to cut Health and Human Services, right?
Right.
But you just got this big number at the end of a line that says Health and Human Services, and you can't open it up to see where that big number is going and where it's getting broken down to. And I think, completely transparent budgets on government websites where you can see, your state representative's credit card spending from their state issued credit card. Like, oh, you dropped $600 at the steakhouse down the street. Like, what's going on?
Well, and they should be held to a higher standard, more transparency than you or I.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems like the opposite's true these days, that the average citizen has to be completely transparent, and government knows everything about you, but your alleged representatives, who knows what they're spending their money on?
They're held to a higher standard, right? Qualified immunity. They can do things that you and I cannot do, and they won't get in trouble for it, right? You look at what's happening with all this fraud around the country. The people who set up the systems for fraud, they're going to be just fine. The people that work for the government, they'll be just fine. They set up those systems. It's their friends that they got signed up for those programs. They're the ones that are going to probably go down, but maybe not. Maybe they won't even get charged. So, yeah, it's crazy.
It is. It'd be nice if we could just flip a switch and get that transparency overnight.
That's another one.
A lot of things.
Like
out.
I have never talked to any of our neighbors about these issues, and they say, no, we don't want the government to be more transparent. No, we don't want to get a say in where our tax dollars are going. Like, everyone wants that. These are issues that everyone will get on board with. So I think, that's probably, if we can run on issues where the majority of people agree, I think that's where we're going to really win, right? Instead of like fringe issues. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, and that's, like I said, I really want to, get a lot more feedback from my neighbors and people in my district before honing in on some more specific issues I want to put on my website and that kind of thing. These were just kind of general my thoughts jumping into this race and some anecdotal evidence or feedback from people. Because it's got to be the kitchen table issues that everybody thinks about when they go to the grocery store and these types of things. And yeah, like another one specific to Ohio, it was really big news in 2019, and then the whole COVID pandemic happened, and hopefully people haven't forgotten, but we had a huge scandal called HB6. Even HBO Max had a whole show on it called Dark Money Ohio Confidential, about the House Bill 6 energy scandal, how the Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House, basically kind of bullied everybody to pass this bill to bail out this energy company. Well, that it turns out they basically just said, trust us, we need bailed out, we need a few $1 billion, and got an entire Ohio Congress to bail them out. And there was no receipt that they even needed it. And it was just this bullying from the top of the party and getting these people to do that. And they threatened to primary different people if they wouldn't vote for it. And billions of taxpayer dollars were funneled to this energy company that didn't need it. And
wow,
it went to even one power plant that was out of state. It wasn't even in Ohio. And like that kind of like corruption or lack of transparency, just that's something I'm trying to remind people too. Like, don't forget about HB6 and how they just stole millions of our dollars to give to their buddies at this energy company, because a wink and a nod, we can use it, and our super PAC will help you out, buddy. Like
more corruption, man. And the thing is, though, once you get elected and you start pointing this stuff out, or heck, even before you get elected, you're really pointing this stuff out. Especially, we've got candidates now that are running ads. They're dropping $5 or $10 a day on Facebook ads promoting reels, because you can target your district or your state, and the activity and the views that they're getting, tens of thousands of views now, and people are sharing their content. Our gubernatorial candidate here in Washington State, $5 a day. We did a live stream like this, chopped it up into a bunch of different videos, and we're running those reels now as ads, and we're getting a ton of people coming on board that are looking at it like, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there needs to be transparency in budgets. Yeah, we shouldn't be giving $1 million away to these corporations, So because this is a thing, like you pointed out, the last election in your district, they didn't even have websites. Right. They weren't even running social media stuff. They weren't even responding. It's like these people don't care. They think they've got it good, because everyone just votes Republican or Democrat. And the reason why people do that, and there's such low voter turnout, is because there isn't anyone good to vote for. And the ones that do run that are good, they just don't have the visibility, right? Because it's tough. We can't spend money on TV ads. These guys are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on TV ads, right? But we could do $5 a day. We could do $10 a day. Slowly build it out there. Get new people interested, and then you'll get more donations because of it too. So.
Yeah, and that at least shows, having a website, social media, getting out there, that at least shows legitimacy. Because you can't count on. You can't count on the news networks, the local news. Like they love covering the Republican and Democrat announcing they're running for this position. The Libertarian, they don't.
Crickets.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, for those of you watching, if you like what Josh is talking about, you want to support him in his race for Ohio State House District 40, what is your website?
My website, it's umbaugh.lpo.org.
There we go. umbaugh.lpo.org. And then you can volunteer, you can donate, click over there, send them $5, $10, $20, whatever you can, because everything helps.
Yes,
and
it does.
Once you start, running some ads, once you figure out, your platform, and you talk to enough people and you're like, this is an issue, or even defend the guard, because that's something that you'll promote regardless of what anyone says, because that's something where it needs to be publicized.
Yeah.
Right. And then imagine how many National Guard family members live in your district that don't even know that you're running, don't know that you stand for them. Right. And that's what those ads will do. It'll bring awareness.
And we do have a large military presence in this area, because Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is on the other side of Dayton from where I live.
Okay.
And that's over 30,000 employees for a military base, here in the area.
Yeah.
So we definitely get a lot of military, former military, retired military of various branches here in the area.
Cool. Yeah. So that'd be a great one to promote. Do a short video on it and throw in $5 a day for 7 days and just see what happens. And then you got to respond to people, and there's going to be good comments, and then there's going to be not so good comments. Just remember to kill them with kindness. What I like to tell all the candidates in the training is that SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting, right? So when you're out talking to people and shaking hands, and someone is disagreeing with everything you say, you say, all right, next, right? That's the some that won't. But the next person, everyone's individual, everyone's unique. Like that next person might be someone that's like agreeing with you 80% of the time, right? 70% of the time, which is probably more than the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the different feedback I've heard from like friends and families regarding my campaign is just everybody begging me, just please don't go negative. We're so sick of all these negative ads. We're so sick of I'm sick of the tribalism. I know some people dig into that, but I think it's more online than it is in real life,
Yep.
But
you're not running. You're technically running as a libertarian, but you're not running to represent the Libertarian Party. You're running to represent the people in your district.
Right.
And you have really good ideas, so you don't have to go smear your opponent. You don't have to attack their character. You can stand on your ideas and your solutions, and that's what's going to get you more votes and hopefully pass the finish line in November.
Yeah, because sometimes, the current one in office, like they may go on this holy roller, wedge issue campaign that really doesn't have anything to do with anybody. It's just the social issue of the day, I guess I'll say. And so much of that is just a divisive distraction about the real issues of what we're dealing with every day. And I don't want people distracted with that. I'm not going to distract people with that, because we all need to go shopping for our dinner and take care of our children and our families and be able to afford our homes and want a better future for our next generation. And it's not getting upset about this thing we'll forget about 3 months from now. It's about focusing on these real dinner table issues and that.
Yeah, the core issues. Like people in my community are choosing between paying property taxes and buying better food for their families. That is a serious issue, right? Not some of this other social justice stuff or social conservative type, issues, right? What the voter turnout was last election where you're at?
Oh, the actual turnout.
What percentage approximately?
I don't have it I don't have it in front of me. I know like a few of the stats I've seen, like honestly, so in Ohio, 70% of the registered voters are unaffiliated. They don't register Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
I think Democrat registration, what was it, about 12%, and Republican was about 18%. But some of the stats I know, like Sweeney has shared with all of us regarding the 99 problems kind of campaign, is in 2024, we had, I think it was 2,508 different elections throughout the state of Ohio. Of course, everybody was focused on the presidential election. But of those over 2,500, 79% of those were unopposed candidates. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a gerrymandered Republican or Democrat district, the opposition didn't even bother running a candidate against the incumbent. So that's something I see as if people either just give up on the system, or if they don't want to be active, or it's just they accept whatever the parties are going to kind of pluck out and pick for them. Yeah. But again, that's something I think hopefully our campaign will try to start to change. Like, hey, get a little active, run for office. It's not easy. It takes some energy. It takes some work, but you don't have to hold all the infinity stones and beat Thanos to do this. Like you can run for a local office, or just even last or what, couple months ago now in November, we ran about a dozen or so libertarians throughout the state, but we had eight of them won their elections. We added another mayor, we added a few more city council, a few more school council throughout the state. So that's something we just got to keep chipping away at. But we shouldn't just allow incumbents running unopposed or really anybody running unopposed. We need options here more than ever. And hopefully people realize that. And maybe people are so jaded and just disillusioned with politics now that they've kind of, I feel like that's some people, honestly, have just kind of backed off and don't vote because and anecdotally, I've ran into coworkers, neighbors that have told me that when I've asked for petition signatures for my ballot access. And I've heard, well, actually, I'm not registered, or I haven't updated my registration. It's 3 years old at my old address. And they're like, well, I hate it. I get screwed no matter who wins. And I tell them, I was like, well, that's why I'm running, because screw the uniparty, screw the duopoly. We need different options that are going to represent us, the people. I'm a regular guy working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I don't drive a Mercedes. I have a decent house, but I'm not Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor here in Ohio.
Yeah.
I shop at the same grocery store, eat at the same restaurants as everybody else in my district. And, so anecdotally, hearing some of that was encouraging. I think some people have been excited to hear another options running. I just dropped off yesterday a couple, I printed off a couple things for my neighbors to update their voter registration so they could sign my petition because they wanted to.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I printed one off for my my coworker to get registered again to voting because he was more excited about it. And it sounds like his dad was disenfranchised and he's excited about it now, so maybe in a small way, I'll get more people excited about get registered and get more active in the political process again. I can certainly understand how people get disgusted with it and want to disengage, but if I get more people involved, hopefully that's a good thing. And I hope it helps moving forward.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for what you're doing. It already sounds like you're motivating people to take more action because there's that huge voter base that just doesn't vote anymore because there isn't anyone that they want to see win, so thank you again. And again, can you give out your website?
Yes, it's Umbaugh, UMBAUGH.LPO.org.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.